Peter King back here on the show. How are you, Peter?
Rich Eisen, I'm still in New York. I'm going in tomorrow, too.
Oh, you're going in tomorrow also? Okay.
Yeah.
Still in NYC. I've been pounding the drum here since the Peterson news broke that maybe there should be a reverse Favre, that he should go down and join the Packers and maybe play out the final years of his high-caliber career with Aaron Rodgers handing the ball off to him. What are the chances of something like that happening, do you think, Peter?
I think this really falls under the Ted Thompson has gone in twice in a decade. He's dived deep to get a veteran who's a great football player and who has been a great football player. He did it with Charles Woodson. He did it with Julius Peppers. And he basically surprised everybody both times, really. Flew under the radar and got both those guys. And to me, there's two teams that this makes eminent sense for, and that's the Green Bay Packers and the New York Giants. But I don't think either one of them should go crazy, because a running back, as we have all seen, running backs are just different today than they were even 8 or 10 years ago, Rich, because there's only one running back in the NFL last year who ran the ball more than 300 times. I mean, gone are the days when you get one guy and he becomes your war horse. So if you get Adrian Peterson, in my opinion, if I were the Packers, I'd still want Eddie Lacy. If I were the Giants, I'd still probably go out and get somebody in the draft and get a team approach. I don't think you want Adrian Peterson to be a guy who's going to run the ball, who you're counting on anyway, to run the ball 22 times a game. I think it's a mistake.
So why did the Vikings make this announcement now? Just because they figured it would leak out, or?
No, because I think, Rich, they knew all along. And they have, look, say whatever you want about the relationship that people have with teams, or that players have with teams. The Minnesota Vikings have great respect for Adrian Peterson in all ways. And they knew that he wasn't going to take a slash and burn approach to his contract. They knew it. And so they knew that there was no way that they were going to say, hey, take 40 cents on the dollar and let's move on. He wasn't going to do that. They knew it. So let he and his agent go out in this in this period where everybody looks the other way on tampering, and basically say, hey, listen, we're going to let you go out and seek your fortune. And if it doesn't work, our door is still going to be open to you.
So is there a figure that you think he has in mind and the Vikings have in mind, or?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But I think I would be surprised if he's going to get more than, let's say, $7 or $8 million guaranteed now from anybody. I don't think it makes any sense. When you haven't played essentially for 2 of the last 3 years, and you're a 32-year-old running back, I mean, look, if he wants significant money, and if I were the Packers or the Giants, and he comes out and he said, I want $15 million to sign, I want this, I'd say, hey, it's not in our ballpark. So I don't know what he wants, Rich. I just know that I think teams are going to be very realistic with a 32-year-old running back who's had one very good year out of the last 3.
Well, with the cap now announced at $167 million, the figures that I'm seeing here, the Packers they're $4,000 shy of having $40 million under the cap, and if it's $8 million guaranteed to Adrian Peterson, how in the world do you not do this?
Well,
and
because Rich, you can't pay for what happened yesterday. That only gets teams in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think that, and look, would I like to have Adrian Peterson with so much to prove on my team? Of course I would. But, we've seen so often in free agency that teams that pay for old players very, very rarely get repaid in full.
Peter King, the MMQB, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Our friend Schefter tweeting out today that Garoppolo not expected to be traded. Read between the lines here for me on this one, Peter.
Well, the week after the Super Bowl, I said I do not think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be traded. And I got 9,000 tweets from people saying you're out of your cotton picking mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now I think, Werder said it. Now Schefter says it. I think Mike Lombardi, I didn't see this, but somebody told me Mike Lombardi said it too. And so, Rich, it just makes sense. Honestly, and I know everybody says you're crazy, but I'll give you two little stats here, okay? When the New England Patriots had 11 players on the field on the final drive in the fourth quarter, when they took the ball down the field to tie the Super Bowl, all the players who touched the ball on that drive and all the offensive linemen, okay, there are 11 players I'm talking about. Brady, White, the receivers, and the offensive linemen. One of those 11 was drafted before pick number 75 in a draft. So everybody says, my God, Belichick's got to get something for Garoppolo. I would say, my God, I would rather have a great backup quarterback the year my quarterback turns 40, knowing that I still think that there's a chance that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the heir to Tom Brady. Now, you saw, Brady told me 3 weeks ago or whatever it was,
Yep.
I'm going to play several more years. I want to play into my mid-40s, which, okay, so that's about 6 more years. So maybe he will. But who's ever done that in NFL history? I realize Brady is absolutely, totally different, special, all that stuff. Nobody at age 39 has had any season anywhere like what Brady just had. 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, including playoffs. A ridiculous year. I see him 1 week after the Super Bowl. He says, I'm 100%. I have no pain. Imagine after playing, 15 football games, and after getting the crap beat out of you by Grady Jarrett in the Super Bowl, you say, I feel fine. My whole thing is to, look, I understand that. I still, rather than have, let's say, pick a number, the 15th pick in this draft and no Garoppolo, I would rather have Garoppolo with the option of next year, at the end of next year, knowing he's going to be a free agent, maybe throwing the moon at him if it looks like Brady is not going to last as long as everybody thinks.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. When does the Romo stuff pop, do you think?
I have to think sometime in the next few days. There's no way the Cowboys can do anything, in my opinion, but release them, and most likely release them with that June 1 designation. And if they do that, I think that Romo ends up doing something fairly quickly. Whether it's Houston, whether it's Kansas City, Denver, or whether it's some surprise team, I think it's in everybody's best interest to get this thing done fairly quickly, especially, in my opinion, if it's going to be a situation where he's going to have to learn a totally new offense.
Explain to those who might not understand the June 1 designation and what that means, Peter.
Well, what it means is that, say, for Tony Romo, if you release Tony Romo on March 9, you can release him with a June 1 designation, which means that you have to carry his entire cap number from March 9 to June 1. But on June 1, you can then split the salary cap charge between 2017 and 2018. And what that means is that, let's say the Cowboys want to take the whole cap charge for a 2-month period, a 2-month plus period. Okay, that means on June 1st, they would get enough money back to, let's say, for the sake of argument, sign either 1 or 2 of their own guys to extensions, with the cap not being, with getting cap money back in 2017, and or sign 1 or 2 more veteran free agents who are still on the street as of June 1.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich, more and more teams are not, even though they've got a lot of cap room, are not getting sucked in to making the big spend right away. So there still will be usable, serviceable players on the street as of June 1.
And can we connect dots between Kaepernick announcing that he's going to opt out of his contract in San Francisco and the fact that the Redskins have franchise tagged Kirk Cousins at a large freight to pay him an absurd amount of money for just 2 years of work, that there's a possibility that this is a sign, if you will, and trade to San Francisco, Peter?
Well, Rich, we knew pretty much all along that Kaepernick was not going to stay in San Francisco. He's just not Kyle Shanahan's kind of guy. Even though I'm not going to say that Kaepernick and Robert Griffin III are the same. You know, Kyle Shanahan, basically his first year as offensive coordinator in Washington, had to basically invent an offense on the fly, and it worked great with RG3 the first year, and it made him Rookie of the Year. But what I'm saying is that he wants to get a quarterback that he feels he can coach and teach, you know, that is going to play his offense and is going to play more of what I would call a pro-style offense. And they just thought Kaepernick, there was no way he could do it. But Kirk Cousins, he loves. And, Rich, I think the reason that he didn't get, you know, the normal franchise tag where some team can come in and pay 2 ones for him, it's very simple. The San Francisco 49ers have the second pick in the draft this year. So the 49ers would not sign Kirk Cousins and give that pick plus next year's one for him. However, if for some reason they chose to sign Kirk Cousins to an offer sheet on May 2nd, then the next 2 number ones would be 2018 and 2019. The value would be significantly different. This way, Washington can now control everything about the trade. They could easily, you know, trade him and his 1-year franchise contract to San Francisco or to anybody who they want to make a deal with, and then it will be up to that team to sign him. And so that's why I think they did what they did.
Wow. That's great stuff right there, Peter. As you're heading into the Combine, what do you think is the story of the 2017 Combine going in? What do you what do you frame it for me here?
Rich, there are so many teams now, and I even include teams like, you know, San Diego, you know, who are the San Diego Chargers are starting to look for an heir for Phillip Rivers. So there's so many teams. It isn't just Cleveland, San Francisco, and Chicago picking 1, 2, 3, but so many teams want quarterbacks right now, and nobody knows right now who the number 1 quarterback in this draft is. You can have your opinion, but is it the guy who only played 13 games since high school? You know, Mitch Trubisky. Is he the number 1 quarterback? Is it Deshaun Watson, who everybody has seen rip apart Alabama? Is it Deshaun Kaiser, who is got some very mediocre record? I think he's 4-10 in his last 14 college starts. So there are pockmarks. Is it Pat Mahomes, who's just a riverboat gambler type, like a Brett Favre with poor mechanics? Who is the best quarterback? So that, to me, is the biggest story of this Combine. Those kind of questions are going to start to be answered this weekend in Indianapolis.
Great. I love hearing that, Peter. The Spanos family just called the show to point out you called them the San Diego Chargers, which I do all the time, too. I do all the time, too.
How about the El Segundo Chargers?
Actually, it would be the Carson City Chargers. Yeah, it's tough to get used to. Peter, I'll see you in Indy. I look forward to it.
Thanks a lot, Rich. Take care.
You bet. At SI_Peter King.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.